So my advice is if you don't have the stomach to commit to, I would even say 1 year of ads and figuring out if your unit economics does not work out, that that's going to be profitable for you in the future, then I would say pick another lane. Then ads does not have to be what you grow with.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today. We got another great podcast for you. I'm Melanie Johnson, one of the owners of Elite Online Publishing, and along with my co-host who's normally here, Jen Foster. She's not here today, but we're shooting out this doing this thing alone today. But I have a great guest. Oh my gosh, I got Victoria Hagar with me today. And this is a question I know so many entrepreneurs, especially women entrepreneurs, how do you get to seven figures? I mean, we've been trying to figure that out we've been in business for 10 years and we're like, that's always our goal every year. How do I get to seven figures? I want to get over seven figures. And you try different things. Well, we have an expert today. So if you're a business owner or you're a CEO or anywhere in helping a company with sales, you're in the right place today. Victoria, thanks for joining us. And I love the name of your company, Ugly Ventures. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to chat about my experience and my frameworks that I've used to help dozens of female founders and some good men work on scaling their business from 6 to 7 figures and beyond.
Yep.
And so I'm going to share all about that, but just a little bit about me and about my business. Yes, it's Ugly Ventures, and there's a good story behind that. Um,
Yeah. Tell us how you got started in this career and kind of your path to get to where you are today.
yeah, exactly. So my career actually started in Shanghai, China, which is a little bit of a different pathway. But I had, I grew up in New Jersey. I went to school in New York City, and I had a job before I finished university in Manhattan, and I just had this kind of deep, kind of heavy feeling like, okay, this is the rest of my life. I'm just going to live in the tri-state area, and a lot of my friends were kind of getting jobs in the area, and I got a huge sort of travel itch, and that what sort of brought me to Shanghai. Actually had a calendar in my cubicle that someone had gifted me of like all these beautiful different places around China, like the Great Wall and like the Peking Opera and all these things. And I would look at it every day and it gave me this idea of like, you know what? I got to get out of here and this is where I'm going to go.
But why Shanghai? Like, did you get an opportunity that opened up or you just went there blindly?
Well, I did have a connection to China because when I was in high school, I had went on an exchange program. So that's kind of what got me there first. So I went first when I was 16 and I had like an exchange student that came and stayed with me. So that's like what gave me the idea to go back because it really impressed me when I was young to go. I went to south of China in a place called Guilin, which is a really interesting landscape. Like the mountains are very unique and the river and it's really cool. And I went and saw the Great Wall. We also went to Hong Kong and to Beijing. So that really kind of gave me that taste and gave me the confidence to make such a big move. But when I got to Shanghai, well, I first started in Beijing. I was there for 1 year. I kind of the conduit to get there was teaching English. But
Ah,
what I quickly learned was that I love teaching, but I wasn't really passionate about teaching English.
mm,
And but I always had a background in marketing and entrepreneurship. So
okay.
what's really cool when you live abroad is you develop like a community of expats that are living in the city. And so I was able to connect with a lot of really interesting expats and entrepreneurs that were building businesses and building their lives across the world. And that was sort of my parlay into marketing, working directly with two founders, one from Australia, one from California, actually. Well, we're in California, who were real estate developers, but they
Mhm.
were entrepreneurs. They had raised a good deal of cash to build boutique hotels across Asia. And I started working with them as a marketing assistant and then a marketing manager. And I stayed with them for many years and ended up kind of working up the ranks as regional marketing director. And what was really exciting about that experience, of course, working in a growth kind of startup and a scale up business because we started with the first property. And by the time I had left about 6 years later, we were onto our fourth or fifth property around in Sri Lanka and in South China. So that process was what I like to call my first sort of trial by fire when it comes to marketing. for anyone that runs a growth, startup or is working in one, your skill set, it only really goes as far as whomever is leading you. But there comes a point where in marketing and sales, maybe it's finance for you, maybe it's HR,
Mhm.
where you have to figure it out because the business owner and the founder, they have their specific set of skills and they're going to know a little bit about all the areas of business. But when you have to perform, when you need to actually get things to the next level, especially because, and again, my first experience was being held accountable to investors who are not very easy, not very forgiving. I had to really figure it out for myself. What does growth marketing look like?
Mhm.
And again, I had some good guides, but I had to figure it out. And so that started, I would say like the majority of my early career was figuring it out. And the way that I learned was by targeting more and more accomplished entrepreneurs to work with. So I could learn the ropes more, more intricately. And this is where ugly was born from because all of the things that I teach and I guide clients with and I work with clients on are the frameworks that I developed through this very painful, fun and interesting, but very painful period of growth in my life where I was really figuring it out.
Yeah.
And I really thought that sales and marketing were like the ugliest parts of business because it's the
Yeah.
hardest. It's the one that is the linchpin in every business. It makes or breaks it. And
Mhm.
it caused a lot of stress, scared of the numbers. I was scared of reporting to investors. I didn't, so many times I didn't know how to make something work. And I had to just keep pounding my head against the wall sometimes to try to unlock those solutions. So, yes, business can be really ugly at times. But what I discovered was that with the right systems and framework, and this is kind of my big discovery, is that it makes all of this learning so much easier. And that's why I've really dedicated my life now to helping founders implement to organize and systemize and strategize their marketing to build what I call a scalable marketing machine. Because it's within this way of thinking that you're able
Yeah.
to iterate and improve on all of your marketing in a measured way.
I'll tell you what I've learned of, being in business for myself for really my entire career and starting companies, TV stations, and starting this publishing company. It really all comes down to having those systems and processes. It's the foundation for your business. What I find is if you're building it, it's like if you're building a house, if you don't have the foundation, it's going to crumble at some point. It's going to fall apart. And to be adaptable, you talk about the four puzzle pieces I saw on your website. Walk us through. I know that's one of your systems and processes that you use to train people. Tell us about the four puzzle pieces.
Yeah. So beyond my China experience, when I came back to the US, I had a pit stop in Mexico, but I've been now in the US for about 7 years. I started sort of opening up. I started in hospitality and brand building boutique hotel brand, but I branched out for the past, 7 years to all different kinds of verticals. And what I discovered is it doesn't matter whether you're building a hotel or a cybersecurity or an e-commerce platform or a SaaS business, there are four unique elements to marketing to your marketing program in your business
Mhm.
that must be in place in order for you to grow and scale your marketing effort.
Yeah.
So the first is so the four pieces I'll high level overview. It's brand, your marketing growth strategy, your team, and the way that you lead your marketing,
Mhm.
right? So if we look at brand, a lot of businesses, um, when they hit a plateau
Mhm.
in their growth, a lot of it can be, in my experience, traced back to their brand and their lack of brand strategy.
Mhm.
So what tends to happen is when businesses hit sort of a little bit of a stumbling block, instead of doubling down on who they serve, their segment, their product, communicating it better, more clearly, figuring out different ways to sort of expand on what exists,
Yeah.
there seems to be an immediate disregard for sort of that piece of the business, the brand. And we start playing a little bit fast and loose
Yeah.
on who we serve. And we kind of are quickly trying to either build out new products or new offers or serve a different segment. Where the truth is that, if you haven't at least reached seven figures with that one segment, right? I think it's really hard to say that you've exhausted your total addressable market. And we're so quick to change things up and go in a different direction before we've really exhausted that total addressable market. So, really doubling down on your brand communication strategy, right? Your brand is much more than your colors and your logo.
Yeah.
It's really your reason for being. And what I believe is that when things start to slow down and stop working, it's usually because the way we're talking about our product or service is flawed. It's not the product or service. It's not the target market.
Mhm.
It's that maybe something's going on in that target market's life that the same messaging and communication strategy before is not working. So that's the first piece. We always do a brand clarity session. We're really doubling down on what is that messaging
Mhm.
strategy that's going to work right now. Next is looking at the marketing growth strategy. So that's what I call the 24/7 marketing flywheel. Do you have a systemized marketing strategy in place, one that is measurable and one that you are taking care of in a way that you are actually understanding the data, understand how to interpret the data, and you're iterating and improving on it?
Mhm.
And I believe a lot of businesses, and again, I work with businesses that are well beyond eight figures I'd have. And there's a lot of founders that can really build a business based on like pure grit and power, and they can get quite far. But when you're looking for that growth and scale phase, it's really about those systems and really being able to interpret what that data is telling us
Mhm.
and be able to kind of manage those outcomes instead of trying to push and pull and force everything yourself. Right.
So let's dive into that data a little more. So when you're analyzing the data, like, are you just looking at, well, how many people clicked on it? How many people liked it? Do you analyze what the content was? How did that message resonate? Was it like this particular type of post or messaging or email content that worked? So we double down on that?
Yeah. So, okay. So, in this, I always like to talk about two types of funnels we have for marketing. A lot of times, folks get a little bit too zeroed in on the small details without understanding or keeping in mind the 10,000-foot view. Because
Yeah.
in marketing, there's a lot of data that we can analyze. So I want to
Mhm.
teach it in this way that when we are building our marketing strategy, we have two we have two types of funnels that exist. One
Okay.
is going to be your strategic funnel, and the other
Okay.
funnel type, which are usually multiple funnels, are your tactical funnel. So when
Mm.
we're looking at our strategic funnel, this is our 24/7 marketing flywheel I mentioned. It's essentially your client journey. We want to have a 10,000-foot view of the six stages, right? The 24/7
Mhm.
marketing flywheel, as I imagine it, are the six stages that get people from first knowing about your brand, who you are and what you do,
Mhm.
to like getting into your world, are ready to buy, purchasing with you, converting. It's the whole client journey. And we want to have a system in place. And this is essentially what the marketing scorecard is. The marketing
Yeah.
scorecard is giving you an overview of all of those pieces of the puzzle, right? It's your awareness strategies. What are the high level data that's working and not working, right? Are we meeting the
Yeah.
KPIs or not? As we are understanding which stage of the game is the weaker stage of the game, that's
Mm.
where we can go into the specific, more tactical funnels and we can understand, okay, where's the breakdown of my content marketing funnel here or my social media funnel or yes, and you are right. There is a point where we're understanding against benchmark. This is really important, right? Against benchmarks or against your previous performance, how is our landing page conversions, our social media, engagement, all this stuff? Yes, we have to analyze those things, but we need to make sure that we're paying attention to the pieces that are going to be most impactful for this
Mhm.
larger strategic funnel. So we want to make sure that we're putting our time, energy, and effort optimizing the things that are actually going to move the needle. And this is where the
Okay.
other piece comes in, the next piece of the four-step framework, which is team. So a lot of
Yeah.
times the way that I imagine team is that we need to build the team out from the strategy laid. So we lay out the strategy of the 24/7 marketing flywheel and we do an audit on that flywheel. So we really understand what's working, what's not working, what pieces are missing here. And
Yeah.
when we know what's working and what's not working, and here's something I think is a really important point for founders. When something's not working optimally, okay, we need to look to our team and ask ourselves the question, do we have the right person that is executing on this particular part of our marketing strategy? And this is where I
Yeah.
believe in strategic investment because again, can your social media manager like run ads for you? Sure, they can figure it out. But once you've built your business to a certain level, we do not want to be making those kind of, we don't want someone doing something just like because they can, because like I could figure it out.
Right.
That's in the startup. That's the beginning phase. When you're ready to get to the next level, I want you to be making strategic investments in the pieces of that flywheel that are the most important for driving revenue, driving lead. So, for example, it's like, okay, if your main lead gen strategy is, let's say, through partnerships, right? Then I would say, okay, how are we going to double down on partnerships? How are we going to get more production out of those partnerships? Let's analyze the specific funnels that are going from that partnership because that's going to drive real revenue and leads into our business.
Yeah.
I would say, let's get the best person on to help manage that little piece of the funnel. Let's get those conversion copywriters on for a project. Let's get you know, our UX designer to analyze the landing page. That's a piece. That means that maybe it doesn't matter if you have the most accomplished social media manager. That's a place that
Mm.
maybe you don't have to spend so much money, right?
Yeah.
So we need to be strategic where we're making these investments. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and then it's knowing when to make that investment. And we've tried ads and hired a couple different people, so not all ad buyers are equal,
Oh,
right? And it's doing your due diligence of knowing that it's going to work and seeing what the results are. Just when you work with any company, and sometimes you're like, okay, that sounds good. Let's go ahead and try it. And then you're just pouring money into something. You're like, this is not
absolutely.
working. Or how long? And then how long should it take to work? So you're going to put money into like doing the funnel for the strategic partners and creating all that, and then how long, or an ad, how long do you let it run before you pivot and adjust it that you think, I'm not really getting the results that I wanted? Like, what is that time frame? What does that look like?
Yeah. So this is, I think that especially when it comes, there's two particular areas that I think that people quit way too soon.
Mhm,
A, first is outbound like email strategy.
mhm,
An outbound email strategy can be incredibly effective. But in my experience, you need to be committed to that for 1 full year, 1 full year. And every business owner that I've worked with that have implemented an outbound strategy have been so tempted by these promises that these folks make, which is like 30 days, your calendar will be filled with sales calls, 90 days. And it is absolutely garbage because it takes at least 2 months to get everything set up, to get copy right. We need to get our audience right and our targeting right. I believe the same is for ads. And ads, as they get more competitive, the landscape has been changing tremendously. I believe that yes, we don't want to be going upside down on the ads for a long time, but everyone needs to understand that ads for
yeah,
most platforms, there is a plateau of spend that you just need to basically just eat. And it can be anywhere from, 3 to 6 months, right? Depending on what your monthly spend is, where the
yeah,
actual algorithm is not going to like pay you back in that ad spend until the platform like realizes that you're serious and consistent, you're going to keep going with this and give them the time. The algorithm has to figure out who to match you with, who's the right audience. Like this often takes, I would say, a minimum of 3 months where it's really an investment. It's an investment. And oftentimes business owners don't have the stomach for it. So my advice is if you don't have the stomach to commit to, I would even say 1 year of ads and figuring out if you're if your unit economics does not work out, that that's going to be profitable for you in the future, then I would say
Yeah.
pick another lane. Then ads does not have to be what you
Mhm.
grow with. If you could figure out a way to make the ad like a self-liquidating offer, for example, if you can make the ads
Yeah.
profitable, like you're putting out something small that they pay for on the spot and you can make that work, that sometimes relieves the pain of it. But oftentimes, many businesses start, stop with ads and they don't get anywhere and they waste a ton of money.
Content too, even just posting. They're like, "Oh, I'm posting, I'm not really getting anywhere." And I've told people, like, "Your Instagram is like a website." I've been telling our team that, and we had an author who came to us and said, "Yeah, I made my appointment with you and I checked out your Instagram and I was really impressed. It looks so good and I got so much content." She didn't go to our website, she went to our Instagram. So, even though
That
you might not be getting that many views or that many likes, they might not like it, they're just going through to see what you look like and if you're paying attention and doing it. So, I think that makes
100%.
a difference.
So, and this is the last stage in the four-part framework that I teach and I
Yeah.
execute myself is the leadership piece. Because again, what is the most important part that a founder can play when it comes to sales and marketing
Yeah.
is understanding A, what does success look like?
Mhm.
And then managing those outcomes.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, we get very distracted because we don't understand A, what is the purpose of our marketing?
Mhm.
Like, what purpose of it? What is it doing for us?
Yeah.
Everyone just expects that it's, you know, they're confused sometimes on what the
Yep.
role of marketing plays in business. We need to understand what is the objective of the marketing, right?
Yeah.
It could be sales, if you're a product based business, maybe you need it to go to that landing page and press buy. Or it's leads, right? Booked calls, things
Mhm.
like that. But you need to get clear on that. And then you have to understand what what are the drivers, right? We know our lagging metric, like how many leads did we get this month? We need to understand those leading metrics as well,
Yep.
right? What actually gets people there? Because you're absolutely right. People oftentimes think that their social media should be driving leads. However, they haven't built a strategy for their social media to drive leads.
Mm.
And this is one point I want to hone in on because I think it's really important. More social media has potential to be an awareness strategy. It has potential to drive leads. However, most of us are not creating a strategy, executing on a content strategy that's in line with that objective. Because in order to actually really drive leads through social media, you need to be creating social content that's going to have potential to go viral. That's going to be, if you're doing a lead gen strategy, the founders that I work with, they're posting 3 pieces of very good content daily and their stuff's going viral and they're getting followers and they're getting
Mhm.
prospects. Yeah. But most of us are not consciously creating the content and to that extent, and we're not pushing out the volume. And so therefore the content plays a very different role. A
Yeah.
content in that scenario is more for building that like, know, and trust factor,
Mhm.
right? That thought leadership, right? Which is the people that you tend to work with
Yep.
to to really be just adding value.
Mm.
And so it's more of a nurture strategy, not an awareness strategy. So I say all this because in the leadership phase, we can waste a lot of time
Mhm.
painstakingly caring about engagement on posts and things like that. Where at the end of the day, listen, that's not what's driving the lead. So who cares? We just want to be consistent, make sure that our quality is good, that we're adding value, that we're building a community, even if
Mhm.
it's small,
Yep.
right? But then really understand what those leading metrics, those leading indicator
Yeah.
metrics are, and really pay attention to those.
And then how do you feel like I mean, it's changing so fast. Like I told you in the green room before that I was in television, and when we talk platforms, we're not saying, "Oh, advertise on TV necessarily or radio," because I believe both of those are dead and continue dying if they're not dead already. But AI has come in to, play so much, and how do you feel that that's coming into creating more content and better quality content?
I mean, obviously, I think it's incredible because it helps marketing teams do everything that they do better. So there's a good way to use it and a bad way to use it. Obviously, the bad way to use it is cutting and pasting, right?
Mhm,
However, especially when it comes to content, I mentioned before, founder that I work with, posting 3 times a day on social media every single day.
mhm.
In order to be able to do things at that volume, we need to utilize things like AI to help cut and edit and generate copy and things like that. But where the real magic comes is from the founder directly or from the marketing creative directly to sprinkle that last 2% on top of everything to
Yeah,
make it more human, to make it more interesting, to make it more personal to the brand, to make it connect more
yeah,
authentically to brand and to the customer. That I think is where the opportunity is. And you can have your team spend a tremendous amount of time training bots in your voice and
yeah,
feeding them stories and all stuff. But at the end of the day, where the real magic happens is that sort of human eye that goes over everything. And then the last thing that I will say is that the danger of AI is that we're just kind of like churning things out, setting it and forgetting it, all of these things where what I believe is the future of marketing is really focusing, all brands should be paying a lot of attention to community.
mm,
Like, right? It's like, how are we cultivating relationships, building a network
yeah,
and building community around our brands, our personal brands or our non-personal brands, right?
mhm,
That's what AI will not be able to replace. And that's where I believe it's really well spent to do a little bit more, maybe looking like a little bit more bespoke efforts to really
yeah.
connect with our audiences and our community.
And that's what I say for, even doing AI books. It's the same for social media content, marketing content. AI doesn't know what's in your head. They don't know your personal stories. They don't know exactly what you went through in your journey you can share. So that has to be authentic. Hey, this has been such a great interview. I know we could go on
Yeah.
for probably another whole half an hour. But tell us where people can find you, Victoria.
Yes. So I'm Victoria Hajjar and I'm at LinkedIn. You can find me. You can DM me if you want to talk anything about the scalable marketing machine that I mentioned. But also, if you're interested in if like how your marketing sizes up to what we chatted about today, do you have a scalable marketing machine set up in your business or how far away are you from setting that up? I'm happy to pop on a call with you to do an audit. So you can just go to Ugly Ventures. So it's ugly with an I, ugliventures.com/audit. And we can set up an audit for you and I can talk you through all of these stages and how they relate to your business and give you a roadmap on exactly what you should work on next to build out that machine.
Awesome. Well, I'm definitely going to do the free
Sure.
roadmap for
Yeah,
sure.
it's like
Why
that.
not?
Yeah,
Right?
I'll email you after the session.
Yep. We'll hook up afterwards. We'll set a date. So, thanks for coming, everyone. And remember, if you want to have a ton of content for marketing, do a book, write a book with us. We will help you every step of the way from the first sentence to the last sentence getting edited, publish it, and we guarantee you'll be a number one bestseller and award winning book author as well. So, reach out to us at Elite Online Publishing and have a great week, everybody. Hey, are you looking to increase your revenue, build credibility, and elevate your brand? This podcast is brought to you by Elite Online Publishing, an innovative publishing and full spectrum marketing company. They will publish and market your book to make it a number one bestseller. Becoming an author is the best way to market your business. So contact them at eliteonlinepublishing.com today. All of their authors become number one bestsellers.